Welcome. I have for you today a bunch of English lessons that I put together. They first appeared on my other channel, American English with Brent. You will see two English lessons about the California wildfires, and then you will see another English lesson about, hopefully, peace coming to Gaza. It was a big week for news all around the world. So, what I did was I combined these three English lessons into one. Maybe you want to have this playing in the background while you're working out or doing chores around the house, but I thought this might be helpful for you if you like watching the news in English and also learning English at the same time. I hope you enjoy. Oh, wait, before we go, maybe you want to see a little bit of what my classroom looks like. It's really early here. It's like 7 o'clock in the morning. Students haven't arrived yet. But yeah, I am an actual English teacher in the United States. Super sad news out of California. At least 11 people have died. 153,000 people have been asked to leave their homes. 1.2 million people in California do not have power. They don't have electricity. 12,000 buildings have been destroyed, including houses, schools, businesses. It could cost 150 billion American dollars to fix everything, and it's not done yet. In today's English lesson, we will watch a news report about the latest California fires that are affecting Los Angeles. My name is Brent. I have been an English teacher in the United States for over 20 years. If you stick with this lesson for the next 20 minutes, your English will be so much better. Maybe you are studying for the IELTS or TOEFL exam, or maybe you just want to have better conversations in English. You will learn the words devastated, unprecedented, get access, structures, unimaginable. You will learn what looting is. How about the verb hampered, magnitude, and so many more. I have slowed down the newscast a little bit. I have put the words on the screen. You will be able to practice your English reading and listening at the same time. If that sounds like fun to you, please hit that like button so other English learners can find the lesson, and let's watch the news together. Then I will come back and teach all of the difficult terms.
Wildfires that have devastated so much of Southern California continue to grow and cause unprecedented damage. At least 10 people have died so far. That number likely to grow.
Mainly because fire crews can't get access to a lot of those communities, right? Well, at least 10,000 structures have been destroyed so far, causing billions of dollars in damage. ABC News' Andrea Fujii with the latest.
This morning, the damage in Southern California described as unimaginable. Thousands of homes, at least 5 churches, a synagogue, 7 schools, and 2 libraries, bars, restaurants, banks, and grocery stores damaged or destroyed.
Pacific Palisades, right now, could just be taken off the map.
Devastated. Devastated. For each of these terms, I will have a picture, I will have the official definition, and I will use it in a sentence, maybe 2, to help you understand the term. Devastated. It means very sad or completely destroyed. You can use this when talking about a place, like a neighborhood, like the Pacific Palisades. That is the name of the neighborhood that has been most affected by this fire. Or you can use it for people. We will do both. First, Here is a sentence about the place. The Pacific Palisades community was devastated after the fire destroyed many homes. But you could also use it to describe how a person feels. She was devastated after her good friend lost her house in the fire. Let's work on the pronunciation for this word, unprecedented. Unprecedented. It means something that has never happened before. The firefighters faced unprecedented challenges because the fire spread so fast. How about this sentence, or actually two sentences here with a very difficult tense? It would have been unprecedented if Kamala Harris would have won the election. She would have been our first female president. And that sentence is written in the conditional perfect tense. Not a very common tense, but I thought it was an interesting sentence.
Wildfires that have devastated so much of Southern California continue to grow and cause unprecedented damage. At least 10 people have died so far. That number likely to grow.
Mainly because fire crews can't get access to a lot of those communities, right?
This next one uses what might be the most difficult word in English, get. We have so many ways we use get in English. Please let me know in the comments, what do you think is the most difficult word in English? Put. That's a pretty difficult one. We have a lot of ways we use take as well. But to get access means to be able to enter or use something. People could not get access to their homes because of the evacuation. Maybe evacuation is a bonus word. It means somebody has to leave their home because of danger. Now, in the picture, there is a teacher. That is not me. I wish I was that thin, but every morning I have to use a key card to get access to the school. Yeah, I put my little key card in the reader and then the door opens for me.
At least 10 people have died so far. That number likely to grow.
Mainly because fire crews can't get access to a lot of those communities, right? Well, at least 10,000 structures have been destroyed so far, causing billions of dollars in damage. ABC News' Andrea Fujii with the latest.
This morning, the damage in Southern California described as unimaginable.
In the newscast, they use the word structures. Let's talk about what those are. Buildings or things people build. Basically, it's another way to say buildings. This is just an example. Unfortunately, the number is much higher. Over 1,000 structures, including homes and stores, were burned in the fire. This one is hard to say. Unimaginable. Unimaginable. It means it's hard to believe or imagine. The damage caused by the fire was unimaginable for the people living there.
This morning, the damage in Southern California described as unimaginable. Thousands of homes, at least 5 churches, a synagogue, 7 schools, and 2 libraries. Bars, restaurants, banks, and grocery stores damaged or destroyed.
Pacific Palisades, right now, could just be taken off the map. There is no Pacific Palisades.
Early estimates predict $57 billion in damages, possibly causing the state's insurance crisis to swell.
One of the structures they talk about is a synagogue. I didn't know if you knew what a synagogue was in English. Well, it's a place where Jewish people pray, like a church for Christians or a mosque for Muslims. The fire damaged a synagogue in Pacific Palisades, not easy to say, and people were very sad. Pacific Palisades. Well, let's talk about what Pacific Palisades are or is. It's a neighborhood in Los Angeles, California. Do you know where California is in the United States? Let's take a quick look at a map. California is on what we call the West Coast. New York is on the East Coast. The fires in Pacific Palisades were some of the worst in California this year. Yeah, like maybe ever. These fires have been unprecedented.
Early estimates predict $57 billion in damages, possibly causing the state's insurance crisis to swell.
All right, we have a verb here, swell. Swell means to get bigger or larger in number. The number of people leaving their homes started to swell as the fire got worse. Now take a look at this picture. It shows the picture of an ankle. That ankle looks red, but it also looks swollen. Yeah, we should talk about the past tense of swell. There are two ways to use it. His ankle was swollen after he slipped on the ice, or his ankle swelled up after he slipped on the ice.
Between 2020 and 2022, insurance companies declined to renew 2.8 million homeowner policies in the state, including 531,000 in LA County. Looting also a problem. The National Guard now requested to protect property.
The next one is renew. Renew. Anytime you see re at the beginning of an English word, think again. The official definition: to start again or make something new. People are working to renew their community after the fire destroyed so much. And if you are an American citizen, you need to renew your passport every 10 years. It basically means you need to take another picture and pay some more money. But then it's good for another 10 years. I need to renew my passport in 2026. This is never a good thing. Looting, it means stealing after a disaster. It happens all the time. Let's say there is an earthquake or a tornado and people have to evacuate their homes or their businesses. If the police aren't around, people will come in and loot. They will steal things. Police stopped people from looting empty homes during the fire. If looting gets too bad, the National Guard might get called in. What is the National Guard? I'm glad you asked. I have the answer right down below. The National Guard is a part of the military that helps in emergencies. The National Guard came to help people leave safely during the fire. That is just an example. The National Guard has been called in after the fire, mostly to stop people from looting.
Looting also a problem. The National Guard now requested to protect property. Many families can no longer recognize their neighborhoods. ABC's Kana Whitworth found a woman carrying the only thing she could find, a piece of tile with turtles on it, from her bathroom.
It was the only thing I found, other than a cracked mug. So I took it for her, just maybe even to frame it as a memory.
She says her friends have 5 family members who lost homes in the Palisades fire.
Oh, that poor woman. She could only save her bathroom tiles. Let's talk about what tiles are. You might see them in the bathroom, but you might also see them in the kitchen. Flat pieces used on bathroom walls or floors. The fire was so hot, it cracked bathroom tiles in many homes.
ABC's Kana Whitworth found a woman carrying the only thing she could find, a piece of tile with turtles on it, from her bathroom.
It was the only thing I found, other than a cracked mug. So I took it for her, just maybe even to frame it as a memory.
She says her friends have 5 family members who lost homes in the Palisades fire. The wildfire disaster exposing a vulnerability in LA's water system.
Okay, a couple big words here. Exposing vulnerabilities. Exposing vulnerabilities. Showing weaknesses or problems. The fire showed vulnerabilities in the city's emergency plans. Yeah, like one big vulnerability was the fire hydrants did not have enough water. It is quite possible that people will lose their jobs because this was so poorly managed. I'm not sure who yet. Maybe I will make an English lesson when somebody like the mayor loses her job, but I'm sure somebody is going to be blamed.
As crews battled the fast-moving flames, firefighters were hampered by low water pressure and fire hydrants running dry. Officials say the city's water system simply wasn't designed to deliver such large volumes of water at once.
The municipal water systems that service our homes and businesses continue to work effectively. However, they are not designed to fight wildfires.
In Pacific Palisades, 3 large water tanks, each holding about 1 million gallons, running out of water.
We had a tremendous demand on our system in the Palisades.
Experts tell ABC News firefighters would have experienced the same issues even with more tanks due to the magnitude of the fires.
Hampered means made something harder to do. Strong winds hampered firefighters trying to stop the fire. Yeah, that did not help. A lack of water also hampered firefighters' efforts. Look at this picture. It looks like that man is on crutches. Maybe he has a swollen ankle. Those crutches are definitely hampering his walking. They also mention water pressure in the newscast. Let's talk about what that is. Water pressure means how strong water flows through pipes. I don't know about you, but when I take a shower, I like for the water pressure to be strong. Firefighters had trouble because the water pressure was too low. In English, we call that thing a pressure washer. It's a hose or a pipe that makes the water come out really fast, really strong. So strong that you can clean the dirt off your driveway with it. This summer, I used a pressure washer to get all of the dirt off my house. Yeah, I have an old pressure washer that I share with my brother in the garage. I will show you a picture of that right now. They also mentioned volumes of water. It just means large amounts of water. They needed huge volumes of water to fight the fire. And unfortunately, the firefighters did not have that.
Firefighters were hampered by low water pressure and fire hydrants running dry. Officials say the city's water system simply wasn't designed to deliver such large volumes of water at once.
The municipal water systems that service our homes and businesses continue to work effectively. However, they are not designed to fight wildfires.
In Pacific Palisades, 3 large water tanks, each holding about 1 million gallons, running out of water.
We had a tremendous demand on our system in the Palisades.
Experts tell ABC News firefighters would have experienced the same issues even with more tanks due to the magnitude of the fires.
Magnitude. What does that mean? The size or importance of something. The magnitude of the fire made it one of the worst in California. We also use magnitude when talking about how strong an earthquake was. You might hear it was a magnitude 7.1 on the Richter scale. Do you use something called a Richter scale in your language to measure the magnitude of earthquakes? A lot of times on this English channel, the lessons are kind of sad. They are about bad news. But today, it's possible we have some good news. The war between Hamas and Israel could be coming to an end. In this English lesson, we will watch a news clip about a ceasefire between Hamas and Israel. And of course, we will talk about what a ceasefire is. We'll talk about what on the brink means. Lots of English phrasal verbs today. Laid out, a very advanced term here, come to fruition. We'll talk about what hostages are. How about this word, halt? Do you know what that means? Well, if you don't, by the end of the English lesson, you will. Do you know what a log jam is? Have you ever heard this English phrasal verb, tamped down? We have a couple idioms, back on his feet and on its back foot. Stick with me until the end and you will know what all of those terms mean, plus more. Before we get too far, please hit that like button. That way other English learners will be able to find the lesson. And go ahead and subscribe so you never miss another English lesson. Let's take a look at that news clip and then I will come back and teach you some English.
We're on the brink of a proposal that I laid out in detail months ago, finally coming to fruition. The deal we have structured would free the hostages, halt the fighting, provide security to Israel, and allow us to significantly surge humanitarian assistance to the Palestinians who suffered terribly in this war that Hamas started.
Biden's comments come after a reportedly tense meeting between Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Trump's Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff. Dr. Rebecca Grant is a national security and military analyst and an international relations expert, and she joins me now. Dr. Grant, good morning to you. So this deal is reportedly imminent, and if Hamas agrees, phase one would be the release of 33 hostages, and U.S. officials are hoping that 2 Americans are included in that group.
It is important to know what a ceasefire is before we get too far. For each term, I will have a picture, I will have the official definition, and I will use that term in a sentence. Ceasefire means an agreement to stop fighting for a period of time. Hamas and Israel agreed to a ceasefire to stop the violence temporarily. Do you know temporarily? It means for a short period of time. Permanent means forever. Hopefully, permanent peace can come to the region.
We're on the brink of a proposal that I laid out in detail months ago, finally coming to fruition.
The next one we have is on the brink. President Biden says on the brink. It means very close to something happening, and it's usually bad. The region is on the brink of war, but leaders are trying to come together to talk.
We're on the brink of a proposal that I laid out in detail months ago.
Next, we have laid out. That means explained or arranged clearly. Take a look at that teacher at the blackboard. I know it's green, but we usually call that a blackboard. The teacher laid out the homework instructions on the board.
Finally coming to fruition. The deal we have structured would free the hostages, halt the fighting, provide security to Israel, and allow us to significantly surge humanitarian assistance to the Palestinians who suffered terribly in this war that Hamas started.
I love this term. I try to use it as often as I can. I think when I use it, I sound smart. Come to fruition means something planned that is now happening and becoming real. I know your goal is to become an English speaker, and I hope that goal comes to fruition for you. Here is another example sentence. The peace talks are finally coming to fruition after months of work. So much good news in this English lesson, but this term isn't that great. Hostages are people taken and held by force to demand something in return. The robbers held the customers hostage during the bank robbery.
Finally coming to fruition. The deal we have structured would free the hostages, halt the fighting, provide security to Israel.
Halt is just another way to say stop. Let's get the official definition. To stop something completely. The bus came to a sudden halt at the red light. Yeah, I know in the picture that light is green, but if the light suddenly turned red, that bus would have to come to a halt.
Biden's comments come after a reportedly tense meeting between Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Trump's Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff. Dr. Rebecca Grant is a national security and military analyst and an international relations expert, and she joins me now. Dr. Grant, good morning to you. So this deal is reportedly imminent.
Do you know the word tense in English? We have a couple different ways we use it. Like you can talk in the past tense when something has already happened. This is a little different. It means feeling nervous or worried. She felt tense before giving her speech in class. Imminent. Imminent is how you pronounce that word, and it means about to happen very soon. Dark clouds showed that rain was imminent.
So this deal is reportedly imminent. And if Hamas agrees, phase one would be the release of 33 hostages. And U.S. officials are hoping that 2 Americans are included in that group. And then it would be the release of Israeli soldiers and an IDF withdrawal from Gaza. And phase 3 is the recovery of bodies and remaining hostages. If this does happen, does that mean an official end to this war?
Yes, and this deal is close, Carly, because of the pressure that President-elect Trump has put on Hamas. He really deserves a great deal of credit for breaking the logjam.
A great deal of just means a lot of something. She has a great deal of experience in teaching. Guess what? In that picture, there are a great deal of fish. I hope you are learning a great deal of new terms and words in this English lesson. Next, we have a logjam. A logjam is a situation where progress is blocked. When you hear progress, think people are trying to get something done. People are trying to accomplish something. Traffic caused a logjam on the highway this morning. You know, like a traffic jam. This is where the word comes from. Look at that. There is a river and a lot of logs in the river. Water is not able to flow as quickly because there are so many logs in the water.
Yes, and this deal is close, Carly, because of the pressure that President-elect Trump has put on Hamas. He really deserves a great deal of credit for breaking the logjam. The detail that you've laid out tells us that, as National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said, the deal is there for the taking. Of course, the question is, will Hamas say yes? And then will Israel's positions in Gaza be enough to keep conflict tamped down?
I am hoping this is a new phrasal verb for you. Tamped down. Tamped down means to reduce or control something. The government tamped down protests to maintain peace. In the picture, that woman is literally tamping down the soil or dirt in that pot. Maybe you have a headache. You can take some medicine to try to tamp down your headache.
Of course, the question is, will Hamas say yes? And then will Israel's positions in Gaza be enough to keep conflict tamped down? And will the greater region, maybe with Egypt's help, be able to figure out a way to govern Gaza and get Gaza back on its feet?
So with Hamas clearly on its back foot and Hezbollah not using pagers anytime soon, how would you describe the status of Iran right now, just days until Donald Trump enters office once again?
Next, we have an English idiom, back on his feet. It means recovered and working again. After the flu, he was finally back on his feet. Maybe a couple days ago, that man had to lay on the couch. He was so sick, he couldn't get up. Well, now it looks like he is getting back on his feet. It looks like he is feeling better. What if somebody loses their job? John lost his job last month, but he is already getting back on his feet. Maybe he already has another job. Things are going better for him. Please don't get it confused with on its back foot. That is totally different. It means in a defensive or weak position. The sudden attack left the soldier on his back foot. This can sometimes happen in sports when a team is losing. The team gave up 2 goals. They are really on their back foot now.
Be able to figure out a way to govern Gaza and get Gaza back on its feet.
So with Hamas clearly on its back foot and Hezbollah not using pagers anytime soon, how would you describe the status of Iran right now, just days until Donald Trump enters office once again?
Iran is weaker than ever, desperate, and of course pinned down.
Aw, in this next one, we have a cute little kitten under a blanket, but pinned down is not good. Let's talk about it. It means trapped or unable to move. The kitten was pinned down under the heavy blanket and couldn't move.
Iran is weaker than ever, desperate, and of course pinned down by over 30,000 U.S. forces deployed out to Central Command. We can't forget the Marines off the coast of Lebanon, all the way through to the aircraft carriers, destroyers, and Air Force fighters that are ringing Iran and keeping the lid on.
Ringing. Now, ringing is a verb. You might know it as a noun. I am wearing a wedding ring. That is a noun. But the verb means to form a circle around something or someone. Take a look at that picture. It looks like somebody is having a birthday. The children were ringing the birthday cake, ready to sing. It just means everyone was standing around the birthday cake, keeping the lid on. That means to control or hide something. She's trying to keep the lid on her best friend's surprise birthday party. It's like you have a secret and you shouldn't tell anybody.
We can't forget the Marines off the coast of Lebanon, all the way through to the aircraft carriers, destroyers, and Air Force fighters that are ringing Iran and keeping the lid on. Israel's actions have shown that Iran's air defenses have been taken down and shown that Iran can't mount a response by launching missiles against Israel. It's been very ineffective.
Mounting a response or mount a response means to organize or start an action. The firefighters mounted a response hoping to stop the wildfires. Maybe you saw that English lesson I did about the California wildfires. Such a horrible situation. I will leave a link to that English lesson at the end of this one. In the picture, it looks like soldiers are mounting a response. Maybe they were attacked earlier. They are trying to attack back.
Israel's actions have shown that Iran's air defenses have been taken down and shown that Iran can't mount a response by launching missiles against Israel. It's been very ineffective. So I expect we're going to see Iran eager to try to squirm out of this and negotiate. They're tapping some of their sneaky oil reserves that they've stuffed into China. But Iran is still dangerous. And in the end, this is going to be one of Trump's biggest priorities, is what to do about Iran and, of course, how to end that terrible conflict down in the Red Sea where the Houthis continue to take shots at international.
Squirm out. Maybe this is another English phrasal verb for you. It means to escape or avoid something, often dishonestly. Like you're not being honest about it if you try to squirm out of something. Take a look at this boy. He is squirming out of his chores. He is pretending to be sick and he's making his sisters do all the work. Let's take a look at the sentence. He squirmed out of doing his chores by pretending to be sick. I really do hope that peace can come to this region, but at the end, they talk about the Houthis. That is a group involved in conflicts in Yemen and other parts of the region. The Houthis have been active in Yemen for years. They are another group that is similar to Hamas or Hezbollah. I will make that map a little bigger just in case you don't know what Yemen is in English. It's a country very close to Saudi Arabia, Oman, not far from Somalia, Djibouti, and Eritrea. Poor Yemen, they have had a civil war for quite a while. I don't know if anybody is watching this English lesson from Yemen, but if you are, I hope you are safe. Welcome back to another English lesson. As some of you might know, I am a real English teacher in the United States, and today I am filming this English lesson from my classroom. Hopefully the other students in other classes will not be too loud, but the California wildfires have gotten worse. There are now 25 people who have died and another 20 people who are missing. In today's English lesson, we will watch a news clip about these California fires. They are going to use some advanced vocabulary, some English idioms, and of course, those pesky English phrasal verbs. We will watch the news together, and then I will come back and teach all of the difficult terms. If that sounds interesting, please don't forget to hit that like button. And if this is your first time here, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another English lesson.
Now to the latest on the LA wildfires. At least 25 people have died. More than 20 are still missing.
And fire crews have been working for more than a week, but still don't have control on the two biggest fires, the Palisades and Altadena.
So Caribe Divine is here with us now with a closer look at the conditions and what comes next.
Yeah, guys, you know, the winds have been the biggest problem with these fires, and thankfully they're starting to ease a little bit.
Now, the news reporter used the word ease, but I want to turn that into an English phrasal verb, ease up. It means to become less strong or intense. The firefighters hope the wind will ease up so they can control the fire. The rain eased up, so we were able to take a walk. Take a look at that picture. It looks like a couple is enjoying a walk. The pavement looks wet. Maybe 15 minutes before, they were not able to go outside because it was raining too much, but the rain eased up and they were able to go on their walk. When watching the news about these wildfires, I have heard the term front lines quite a bit, and they use it here. Let's talk about what the front lines means. It means the area where the most important or difficult work is happening. You might hear this during a war also. The firefighters on the front lines are risking their lives to stop the fire. And in the picture, we just have soldiers instead of firefighters, but these soldiers are on the front lines. This is where most of the fighting is happening. If a lot of people are getting sick, you might hear front lines when it comes to doctors and nurses. Nurses were on the front line of the war helping sick people.
Now to the latest on the LA wildfires. At least 25 people have died. More than 20 are still missing.
And fire crews have been working for more than a week, but still don't have control on the two biggest fires, the Palisades and Altadena.
So Caribe Divine is here with us now with a closer look at the conditions and what comes next.
Yeah, guys, you know, the winds have been the biggest problem with these fires, and thankfully they're starting to ease a little bit, but the firefight is still far from over. Teams are making progress along the front lines, but the two major fires, the Palisades and the Altadena, are still far from contained.
Contained. They are trying to contain the fire. Let's talk about what that means. Under control or stopped from spreading. The fire is now 50% contained, but firefighters are still working. We have some more medical stuff here. Doctors were able to contain the virus, preventing it from spreading across the country. Too bad that was not true back in 2020. Now here we come to this picture. She contained her excitement when she heard the good news. Yeah, the woman in the picture looks like she wants to scream with excitement, but she is keeping it contained.
Firefight is still far from over. Teams are making progress along the front lines, but the two major fires, the Palisades and the Altadena, are still far from contained. Crews also dealing with hot spots. The conditions in most of these burned out communities means that more than a week after the evacuations, most families still cannot get back to their homes. Now, in very limited areas where it is safe, gas, power, and water crews are inspecting the lines and they're starting their repairs.
We have two ways that we use hotspots in English. One with a fire, but one in a different way. We might use it with technology. But with the fire, in the newscast, they use it like this. Small areas where problems or danger still exists. So if firefighters put out, that's the English phrasal verb we might use, if firefighters put out a house fire, there still could be hotspots, little parts of the fire that could reignite or start burning again. Even though the fire is contained, there are still hotspots that could reignite. And here is another way that doesn't have anything to do with fire. The park is a hotspot for tourists in the summer. It's like a place where everybody wants to go. But when we talk about technology, a hotspot is a little different. A hotspot is when a phone shares its internet connection so other devices like laptops or tablets can use it to go online. I used my phone as a hotspot to connect my laptop to the internet while I was at the park. Sometimes it costs a little extra money to be able to use your phone as a hotspot, but a lot of times that can come in really handy. Very limited. They also use that term in the newscast. It means not much or very little of something. Very sad after a natural disaster. People in the area have very limited access to clean water because of the fire. Take a look at this grocery store. The store has very limited supplies of bread today. It looks like that store has been wiped out. Where I live, that happens quite a bit when a big snowstorm is coming. Everybody will go to the grocery store trying to get milk, bread, and eggs.
Crews also dealing with hot spots. The conditions in most of these burned out communities means that more than a week after the evacuations, most families still cannot get back to their homes. Now, in very limited areas where it is safe, gas, power, and water crews are inspecting the lines and they're starting their repairs.
Inspecting. They talked about that in the newscast too. It means looking at something carefully to check for problems. The team is inspecting homes to see if they are safe after the fire. Firefighters might also inspect the area for hotspots. The teacher inspected the students' homework for mistakes.
A handful of those forced from their homes by the flames are briefly coming back, but they're overwhelmed by the ruins that are left from their lives before the firestorm.
When you stare at your front door that's gone, and you have the few moments to contemplate, what does this really mean to my life? I mean, I still don't fully understand everything I have is gone, but you have to decide, I have to find some meaning in why this happened.
This is a great term to know in English, a handful. What is a handful? A small number or amount of something. In the picture, it looks like that person has a handful of berries. Like literally, their hand is full of berries. But how about this one? She has a handful of close friends she can always trust. I don't know what that number is. It might be 3, it might be 4. Oh no, the lights just went out. I need to stand up and move so the lights will come back on. Yeah, a handful is probably like 5 or less, maybe 6. I know you can feel overwhelmed when learning English. Let's talk about what that is. Feeling like something is too much to handle. This woman looks like she is overwhelmed by her job. She has so much work to do. But let's talk about overwhelmed when it comes to the fire. The firefighters felt overwhelmed by the size of the fire. I was overwhelmed with work and couldn't finish everything on time. Please let me know in the comments, at work, do you ever feel overwhelmed? Like there is not enough time to get everything done.
A handful of those forced from their homes by the flames are briefly coming back, but they're overwhelmed by the ruins that are left from their lives before the firestorm.
When you stare at your front door that's gone, and you have the few moments to contemplate, what does this really mean to my life?
Stare. The way it's written there has something to do with the eyes. You might also go up the stairs, but that is spelled in a different way. This is a verb. It means to look at something for a long time without moving your eyes. My mother always said it was rude to stare at people. People stared at the destroyed buildings, shocked by the damage. The baby stared at the bright light with wide eyes. My eyes are not wide. I would call my eyes very narrow. Do you know this other verb that is the opposite of stare? It's glance. You should never stare directly at the sun. Instead, I glanced at the sun, but had to look away because it was too bright.
When you stare at your front door that's gone, and you have the few moments to contemplate, what does this really mean to my life? I mean, I still don't fully understand everything I have is gone, but you have to decide, I have to find some meaning in why this happened.
Contemplate. Contemplate. That means to think deeply about something. Here is a sad sentence using contemplate and something about the fire. She sat quietly contemplating whether to rebuild her house after the fire. And it looks like this little girl is contemplating on which glasses to buy. Here is another sentence not about this little girl, but he is contemplating moving to a new city for a better job. This can be a difficult one, but to find meaning means like try to find the big idea of something. Let's get the official definition. To understand the importance or purpose of something. Like you might hear in English, I am trying to find the meaning of life. Like, why are we here on this planet? Many people try to find the meaning of the tragedy of the wildfire. It's like asking some really big questions, like maybe like, is God involved in these kind of events? Really deep thinking, a little more than contemplating. After losing her job, she worked hard to find meaning in her life again. To me, that sentence is describing somebody who is very depressed, very, very sad. That is it. Hopefully, your English is so much better than before you started watching this lesson. Congratulations. If you are looking for more English, like right over there is another English lesson I did about these wildfires. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.